Hey guys, welcome back to the Real Results Show, where we feature real health coaches and health practitioners getting real health results for their clients and themselves. I'm your host, Brendan Burmeyer. I'm a clinical advisor for FDN, and I'm the director of our tribe's awesome association, where we get to support our community with ongoing education regarding a variety of clinical and business building topics, such as tonight we had expert Sachin Patel teaching us how to build the perfect practice, which was an amazing presentation. And he'll actually also be speaking at our conference, which is rapidly coming up in early November, November 1 through 3. So this week, I'm super excited to have my friend Sheri Levy on the line with us. And for those of you that can't stick around towards the end of the webinar, I totally get that. But drop the word aspiring, all uppercase, one word, aspiring, into the chat box below if you want to get more information about FDN. But Sheri, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to have you. You are definitely, a veteran FDN and, one of our more active community members. We're always interacting in our private Facebook groups, and I know you're a wealth of wisdom and good vibes. So to kind of kickstart the convo, I'd love to hear, what brought you to FDN originally.
That is such a loaded question, but a great question.
Always is.
As you know, Brendan, but maybe the whole audience doesn't know, I had a whole wonderful journey with breast cancer that really fast-tracked me into trying to understand, the why of my own cancer. And I was very hungry for knowledge. I was collecting certifications and degrees as I was trying to heal myself. And when I was successful, November 22nd of 2017, when my test results came back with 0 metastatic cancer tumor cells, which is exactly what you want it to say, I celebrated for maybe 72 hours. And then I said, I got to get busy because there's a message and we need access ourselves to these very valuable diagnostic tools that help to rebuild people. And so I was looking and looking for the right program. And FDN came across, I was reading some book and this guy was an FDN and I was like, his philosophy was my philosophy. And so I'm like, where's FDN? And I was so grateful that, and I think, I don't know if I spoke with you or Brandon Mollet when I called and drilled whoever was on the other end of the phone, do you have this? And will I be, will I have access to these tests and who's going to be teaching me? And so that's how I stumbled into FDN, was this hunger. And FDN brought me the opportunity to do the test that I think everybody should be taking.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's always fun hearing people's story because it's always a little bit of a carbon copy with kind of different filler there of, we've all struggled with our own health, or maybe it was somebody we loved, and we're the people that we're not going to sit back and accept there's nothing you can do. You just have to, take this drug the rest of your life. Whatever it is that we were told, we didn't accept that, as kind of the final verdict. It's, we take ownership of what can we do to take back our health and take our health in our own hands. And so we're really a tribe of like-minded, empathetic self-healers. And it's a beautiful thing where, it starts with healing ourselves, and then we teach other people how to heal themselves. And that's the paradigm shift, because
right.
I'm a firm advocate that nobody can heal you for you. You have to heal yourself. And that's where, I say it all the time on this show, but the word doctor originally is a Latin word that means to teach. And that's not, our healthcare system is not an educational system. The only thing doctor ever taught me was where to fill my prescription. And so that's where I think the doctor of the future is exactly that, a self-healer teaching others how to heal themselves. And that's exactly what you're doing now.
And I don't even know if that's the doctor of the future, but that was the original doctor.
Exactly. That's
That was the
exactly
original
my point.
doctor. and then it all got lost. But I applaud emergency medicine. I
Totally.
absolutely applaud it. But when it comes to healing the body without medication, it's an entirely different route. And I firmly believe that if you get out of your body's way, it will
Hmm.
repair itself. But you have to be willing to do that. You have to be willing to do that.
You're exactly right. And that's the thing. It's like I always say how the process of self-discovery is a process of unlearning. And in the same way, it's kind of that with sort of the health crisis we're in of, you know, doctors originally were, looking for what are the root causes that are contributing to the progression of disease. But then with the technology jumps of drugs and surgery, well, then we became a completely reactive allopathic model. And, so that's where it's like, well, we're in a chronic disease epidemic that's being driven by environment and lifestyle. So why are we only using reactive drugs and surgeries? And, I'm pretty vocal because I love conventional medicine. We need it. And I'm pretty vocal. I would not be alive today without it. So that's like that ultimate safety net. But with the chronic disease epidemic only on the rise and rise, okay, clearly a lack of technology with drugs and surgery is not the problem. So, that's where FDN is kind of leading that charge.
Right. And so, and that is really my whole mission. My company, Sexy Strong Life, I purposely did not name my company Sheri Levy Functional Healing because my message is Sexy Strong Life. And this is where we get lost because we think, sure, we look in the mirror and we want to feel sexy and strong. We want that reflection to say sexy strong back to us. But here I was, Brendan. I had the abs. I was running the marathon. I was fit. I was visually strong. I was my doctor's, you are the strongest, healthiest patient I have. That sentence, you are the healthiest patient I have. And yet here I was at 47 with breast cancer. So how does that happen? It happens because it's more important to be sexy and strong inside than it is outside. We need both, but you can be, you know what I'm saying? We need both. And so that is really part of my message is the why. How do we make sure that our inside matches our outside? And that's where compound interest comes in. And I really want to talk to you about this. But before I talk to you about this, I want to share something with you in my healing journey through breast cancer that I thought was a huge aha moment for me. And I want to give this to the audience and I want to give this to you for a part of your training. You may or may not know this. But for me, it was very hard to have, this diagnosis of breast cancer because I felt like I was so healthy and strong. I felt like I was healthier than most of my friends, which is terrible to say, but I felt that I was by my choices. And there was a period of time where I was just newly organic and 3 years into my organic journey. And that's why my Instagram is Sheri Levy Journey to Organic. Um, and so the challenge was that I didn't realize that cancer doesn't start yesterday. It starts 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years earlier. And that's a big aha moment for a lot of people because we're going and having mammograms, we're going and having ultrasounds. And, this is really timely because here we are in Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I'm here at Breast Cancer, 1st October, conversation. But so we're having all of these tests, and what we don't realize is that that's prevention. It's detection, excuse me. It's not prevention. We don't realize that our technology is not sensitive enough until there's 90 trillion cells to shape a tumor in order for it to be seen. And what we also don't realize is that if we take the tumor size of it and you take the proliferation rate, which is how fast the cells are multiplying, and you do the math, you can actually detect and come very close to when your cancer started. And that is not the beginning of your compound interest. Your compound interest begins at at the beginning of your life. And we'll talk about that. I want to talk about that. But you can tell when your cancer started so that you can understand the why. And if you understand the why and everything that contributed to that one cell not being cleared, then you can start to rebuild, repair, and
Mm.
reboot your body. So I don't know if you knew that, but a lot of people don't realize that they can actually do the math and figure out when it began.
Mm. It's wild. I didn't know that. It's good to know, though.
It is good because it's empowering, is what it
Mhm.
is. Now for me, it was like a huge weight fell off my shoulders because I was like, I don't understand. I've been organic for 3 years, but I was doing it wrong. I was
Right.
organic, but I was doing it wrong. I still wasn't nourishing my body. So let's talk about compound interest, because compound interest is at the base of everything. I don't care if you have autoimmune disease, if you have cancer, you have psoriasis, if you have anxiety or depression, at the root of this all is compound interest. And so as I was repairing myself, I was getting degrees in perinatal lifestyle and nutrition, family lifestyle and nutrition. I was building up, I was going back to the very, very beginning as to how this could possibly happen to me, because there's nobody in my family that has breast cancer. Nobody. And it's not genetic. So it had to be environmental, it had to be lifestyle. And we also don't realize that, 96% of cancers are environmental, lifestyle. There's only 4% that are actually genetic. And even then, I think you can turn off that switch. But let's go back to compound interest. So, compound interest, it starts, like I said, with your mother. So, what was her diet like? Were you the first child, the third child, the fifth, the ninth child? Did your mother believe in perinatal, vitamins? Did your mother believe that she should gain weight or lose weight? Or was she, how was her health? And when I sit down with my clients, I sit down with them for 3 hours asking them these questions and bringing them to their present day, because in those questions shapes who you are. And so if you were vaginal delivered and you were breastfed, or were you cesarean and bottle fed? Did you get colds when you were younger? Were you on antibiotics? What was your diet like? Did your parents, when you got sick and were on antibiotics, did they feel sorry for you and give you a cookie and give you ice cream? That then tells us, as you know, who's in charge of your microbiome at a very
Mhm.
young age. And all of this begins to shape who you are standing before me in our meeting. And it continues to grow. So then, were you anorexic? Were you bulimic? Did you go on laxatives? Were you athletic? Did you take 4 Advil every single day because you were working out so hard that you were in pain? Were you smoking? Were you not smoking? And it's so interesting, put a pin in the smoking one for a second, because I'll find clients that on their, medical out, boarding or inboarding records will say that they're not smokers. And then when I sit with them, I find out, well, at 16 to 24, they were smoking 2 packs a day.
Mhm.
So they are smokers. They're not a smoker now, and maybe it's been 10 years, but that is still in their body and
Mhm.
it still needs to be cleaned out. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this. All of this compound interest, how you choose to feed or not feed yourself, exercise or not exercise, creates who you are. It if you have a mouthful of amalgam fillings because you had so many cavities when you were a child, and you have an inability to detoxify, that is a part of your puzzle. All of this, what it does is it really creates a deficit. So
Mhm.
by the time you are sick, you have an insufficiency or a deficiency. See where I'm going?
hmm Absolutely. And you're mapping it out so well, because something that I find myself teaching a lot is, like with gut health, for example, I always explain, like, gut health isn't a protocol, it's a lifestyle. Or detoxification, it's not a protocol, it's a lifestyle. I mean, yes, there's time and place for a protocol to kind of, targeted intervention to kind of rapidly move the needle a little bit, but overall it's the lifestyle change required. Otherwise, in the that's kind of what really separates FDN from everything else. Is even with like functional medicine, it still can tend to be a little bit too reductionistic and allopathic of, well, let's run labs, find your root cause, throw supplements and medications at the piece of paper, and then magically everything gets better. And it's like, no, it really does not work that way. Protocols can be helpful, but without the long term, the lifestyle, we're not going to get anywhere. Because as you said, this compounding interest that it started at birth, or now there's all this research showing, no, it starts before birth with everything that's being pumped into you and programmed into
Right.
you. There's all sorts of cool studies that show how whatever plagued the mother like long before she
Yeah,
was pregnant with
postnatal.
you.
Who was
You
your
know what
mom?
I mean? Yeah. So
I totally do.
yeah, it's insane, but I totally feel you.
But it is, for me, it was very important to figure out my why and
hmm
where the perfect storm was. And like you said, it's a lifetime. I remember I went through an exhaustive 2 year, 9 month period, which really, quite honestly, in the span of my life, is a short time frame to be incredibly 100% dedicated to healing.
hmm
And you have to be. I say this to my clients: if you're coming to me sick, then you need to be 98, percent, 100%, like doing the work. And when you heal, sure, you can balance out. You could be 80/20, but you can never go back to 20/80. You
hmm
cannot go back to 20/80. When I remember, just after, being exhausted on this journey, like I said, of being so strict and so particular with my choices and so many supplements. And I said to my integrative doctor at the time, I said, when can I breathe? My test came back. I have 0 metastatic cancer tumor cells. When can I just go back to just choosing whatever I want to choose? And he said, never.
hmm
You can't go back. So that's hard to hear, but that's the reality. And I will say, and I will be completely honest, um, I do believe in taking a break. I do believe in giving yourself, 15 days to kind of breathe and be real, out of the whole year. Pick and choose what they are. Is it a special Thanksgiving, a special Christmas? What are the days that are important to you? A wedding, a celebration. But then you have to get right back on. And if you can't get right back on, then those days, you shouldn't be including them. So healing is a lifetime. It's a lifetime journey, but it can be fun and it can be amazing. And I'm still a foodie. I'm an incredible cook. I do recipes everywhere. I had to train myself to cook, so that my family could have Chinese food that was healthy and,
Yeah.
going to help them and not harm them. So you can achieve what you want to achieve, but you do have to apply yourself long term.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's where a lot of times we have to really help our clients kind of reprogram their psychology and reframe things a lot, because it's so easy. in kind of the functional health space where, again, people are very kind of like sold on the notion of, yeah, run test, identify root cause, throw a dart at it, everything goes away and gets better magically. But, you know, in the process, it's like people get hyper neurotic and they get very like traumatized by the healing process, which is completely opposite and non-conducive to the healing process, where they freak themselves out, they get afraid of everything, they don't know what to eat, and they're afraid of screwing up their protocol and whatever. And it's like, whoa, hang on, let's take a deep breath here. You know, we have to work smarter, not harder, which is obviously what the functional lab testing allows us to do. But more importantly, we have to fuel the process out of self-love and a desire, you know, to achieve our best life. And, you know, if all we're doing, I think this is such a harsh reality of kind of our current society where, you know, when somebody thinks I want to get healthy, a lot of times they go to a gym first. You know, I just need to lose weight, which makes me healthier, instead of thinking I need to get healthy and weight loss is a side effect of that. But it's this idea of punishment of, oh, I'm overweight, so I have to go kick my ass in the gym and restrictively diet. And they do that same mentality with healing of like, I can't eat this, I can't eat that, if I miss a single dose of supplements, I'm a screw up. And it's like, what's the story that you're telling yourself? Because that is not a story of healing. That's a story of toxicity that only further exacerbates metabolic chaos.
It does. There is a balance. There is a balance. But when you're cleaning, you really need to be like doing the work,
Oh,
system by
very
system,
vigilant.
organ by organ. But there's a balance, you know, and you have to afford yourself the opportunity to have that balance. I always tell my clients, do the best you can. And
Mm-hmm.
when you can do better, do better. But I
Right.
get it. I understand, you know, we're all human, but it doesn't, you know, open the door to like go on a, you know, go and have, you know, like 15 drinks and you know, trash yourself and don't sleep for 2 weeks. Like that's not going to be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to find some balance. You know, I want to talk about nutrigenomics really quickly because I know that you're, I'm sure, a fan of nutrigenomics. But I want to just share something that I learned that was so critical to my evolution in healing that I had no idea was a part of weakening my own immune system, making myself vulnerable. And so I always like to, you know, take any opportunity to educate or teach that I can. But what I learned and didn't realize, because, you know, there was a very long period of my time as I was growing up where I thought being a vegan or a vegetarian was the way to go. And even when I started my healing journey, my first doctor said, "Oh, you need to be raw vegan," and I tried. I tried for like 6 months, and I thought I was gonna just lose it. But when I looked at myself, and thank you to FDN for, you know, opening my brain to better testing. And when I looked at myself nutrigenomically, I realized that genetically, my body cannot transfer plants into vitamin A, and I can't transfer plants into omega 3 that feeds my brain. So here I was throughout this whole long period of my life where I was like a marathon, like running, training for a marathon. I
Oh.
was working out hardcore, and I was like vegetarian, and you know, I wasn't getting the nutrients that I needed to power my own immune system to
Mm-hmm.
set me up for, you know, cognitive function. And
Mm-hmm.
that was a huge hole. And I had no idea. So that's why I really believe, like, don't guess in what your diet should be. Look at yourself genetically, because if you can't power and turn plants into the nutrients your body needs to rebuild you, you're in trouble. You're in trouble.
Yeah,
And
so
you,
you're one of those, the vegan marathoner.
right? Which
uh,
you know, I do see people genetically that they have that their body will support that, and I say power on. But if your body doesn't support it, then you need to figure out how to bring organ meats into your world
Hmm.
in order to get vitamin A or marine based, uh, animals, fish into your world in order to get omega-3. And you have to do that genetically. And if you can't, get yourself to eat the food, which is ideal, always ideal, because you're getting all of the other nutrients that come with it, then you need to figure out how to supplement to minimally to help your body heal itself. Otherwise, you're always going to have this hole and this dysfunction, this insufficiency of nutrients that, does not build to your strength, your sexy, strong life.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah, and that's kind of the beautiful thing about, like FDN is one of very, very few programs out there that teaches functional lab testing, which kind of blows my mind, to be honest. I'm glad I found it when I did, because I'm just like, well, yeah, obviously, like, test don't guess. But there's not really much else out there that teaches functional lab test analysis. And, certainly it's not like the testing is the end all be all per se, but to me, it never made sense of like, how could a professional possibly, build a health building program for a client or patient without objective data, about their current state of physiology and biochemistry, and
I have to I have to say, you said that the testing isn't the be all end all, but for me it is. For me it is. For me, I have a select group of tests. FDN has brilliant tests, and I continue my learning, and I'm always looking for the right test for my clients. But I will say that just as we always say in FDN, test don't guess, it just makes everything go so much faster. I'm going to give you like a case study if we still have like a couple minutes of time.
sure.
I had just this wonderful client, 32-year-old young female who has given me permission to share her story. But 32-year-old young female, 16 years of chronic, like suicidal depression, off and on medications, self treating with alcohol for a period of time, just a lovely, lovely person, but cannot get out of this chronic depression. And it took me quite a while to get her to like test her gut. And we tested her gut. Of course, there's parasites, there's all this dysbiosis going on. We fixed her gut. We look at her diet, her food intolerances. We take them out. We help her, make suggestions to repair for a better diet. Like, this is good, but this is not getting rid of her chronic depression and anxiety. But we're making her stronger. And then we do the Dutch test. We do the Dutch mapping test, which I absolutely love, Brendan, because when a client comes to you and says, I have 2 weeks out of a month where I'm depressed. I have 3 weeks out of a month where I'm depressed. I'm only happy 2 days out of a month. I go, my bells go off, and I'm like, we need to look at a hormone mapping test with you. And sure enough, 90% of the time, we'll see the estrogen starting way earlier than it should and just continuing to build way longer than it should and going on. And herein lies this emotional fragility and this anxiety. It's all a part of the puzzle. But if we did not do this test, I would not be able to help her help herself self-correct her hormones and put them back in line. And when she called me, and I'm going to get emotional because I get emotional with all my clients, I love them. When she called me to say that she had no more anxiety, no more depression, and she was happy for the first time, there's no way, Brendan, that we would have found this by just guessing. There's just no way we would have been able to help her help herself by just guessing. And so I got to say, I'm right back to the compound interest that brought her to where she was. And I'm right back into this beautiful girl who was so into the outside physicality, letting the inside go because she just didn't have the education on how to take care of herself. And so I say test, don't dress. There's a healing opportunity for everybody.
Always, always, and there really isn't anything more rewarding or fulfilling to see the hope in somebody's eyes after they've lost all hope. It's the most powerful thing. I was just presenting a case study the other day, and there's just nothing more beautiful than that, where, because of the testing, we're able to slap this piece of paper and slide it across the desk and say, here's what this means. Does that resonate with you? And for the first time, somebody is able to very accurately provide an explanation for what's been plaguing them, when other people have usually said, like, oh, it's all in your head, there's nothing wrong. You know what I mean?
Here,
And
let's
it's so
increase
awful.
your dose. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's my favorite line. Let's increase your dose.
Right.
So yeah, it just mind-boggling to me, and it makes me so excited to do my job. I'm so
Mhm.
excited to meet with people, and when people tell me that they're anxious and depressed, I'm like, there's hope. Like
Mhm.
there's hope. Let's take you apart. Let's put you back together again. Because it is far better than the solution that you're using right now, which is medication that is not working for you.
Mhm.
Um, and it's very interesting to me, and I'm sure you see this, how, you know, it's almost like you have to really, throw out a rope and pull people
Mhm.
along and encourage them to get in the boat.
Mhm.
Get in the boat and let's help you, because they're just swimming out there, looking up things online, trying to figure it out, listening to somebody else's chat room, but not, but the answer is within them. They need
Yeah.
to fix them and fix what's wrong with them, system by system, organ by organ. It's no different, than anybody's illness. They still need to be taken apart and put back together again.
Yeah, you're so right. And that was a good analogy. I kind of picture somebody clawing at the water as, they are in the process of drowning, and, you throw out the lifeline, you're yelling at them, like, grab the lifeline. But I think sometimes they are so just in a panic that they're not thinking. They're not thinking, I need to grab that lifeline. They're just pawing at the water frantically. And yeah, that can be the hard part, is like, we got to get you to grab that line so we can pull you in here. But
And it's
yeah,
hard because we just don't know who to trust. We
yeah,
a society with a lot of mixed messages
yeah,
and a lot of marketing schemes, and we just don't know who to trust. And,
right.
and so I get it. I absolutely get it. But I will say that it has just been a fabulous it's a fabulous year with just tremendous people who have said yes, have said
Mhm.
yes, let me get in the boat.
Mhm.
And it's been very rewarding. So my hat's off to FDN, definitely.
Absolutely. Well, we could easily talk about this all night, but we are about out of time. So, where can people learn more about you or get in contact with you?
Well, thank you. So I am at sexystronglife.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at Sheri Levy _ Journey to Organic, where I offer cooking tips and health tips as well. And I'm also on Sexy Strong Life on Instagram, and on Facebook, I have Sexy Strong Life and Journey to Organic. So if you're hitting a Sexy Strong Life or Journey to Organic, you're going to find me. And then I
Perfect.
should just say, give Jennifer a plug on Empowered to Heal on her podcast. I'll be on that in 2 days.
Oh, awesome. Very good. Yeah, I love Jennifer. Well, this is awesome, and for all of those watching, thanks for tuning in. And I strongly encourage you, if any of this resonates with you, please drop the word aspiring into the box below. You can get more information about FDN. Maybe you're seeking professional help, in which case somebody like Sheri or another FDN can help you. And of course, maybe you want to join our ranks. Maybe you are an aspiring FDN or health coach or whatever that is. So I also want to invite you to, like I said before, we have our conference coming up in San Diego, November 1 through 3. We're both going to be there. And it's not exclusively for FDNs. We openly invite, those that are interested. And honestly, that's, in my opinion, the best way to feel out if it's right for you, because it's a huge gathering of a lot of FDNs and like-minded professionals. And you're very quickly going to feel like either this is the perfect fit for you, or you're going to run out the door screaming. I don't really think there's a lot of middle ground there. Well, Sheri, thank you so much for being on the show tonight, and I really can't wait to see you at the conference and we can
Yes.
continue our convo. But
Okay.
you're doing such outstanding work and you're such a good role model for our community, so I really do thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure. Have a good one, Brent.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. Everybody have a wonderful night. We'll be back next week.